After a Florida appellate court threw out a $200 million verdict against Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, many of you were wondering, was this the end of the line for Maya Kowalski and her family? For those of you that are not familiar with the case, in the description below, I've linked to a video where I broke down the background of the case and I went through the decision by the Florida appellate court, which completely reversed the $200+ million verdict that was issued by a trial court stemming from the gross misconduct by Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital towards Maya Kowalski. In another video, which I've also linked in the description below, I discussed whether or not I think this could be a case that can reach the Florida Supreme Court. Maya Kowalski's legal team for now has decided on a different track. For now, at least, they are not going to the Florida Supreme Court. Well, what did they do? Now, I don't have the actual filing. If anybody can find the actual filing filed by the Kowalski's attorneys, please send it to me, and I'd love to break it down if you guys are interested. All we have is the docket minutes from the Florida appellate court, and there's a docket entry that shows that they filed a motion for what's called a rehearing and a rehearing en-banc. What does that mean? So normally, appeals in the Florida appellate courts are heard by a panel of 3 judges. If you want, you can ask sometimes in certain situations to have the full Florida appellate court hear the case. The full appellate court is composed of 16 judges. So again, normally you have a panel of 3 judges that hear the case. And in some situations, after the 3-judge panel renders its decision, if you want to have that decision reviewed, you can either go to the Florida Supreme Court, which is what I thought they would do, but they have not at least yet, or you can ask for what's called a rehearing and rehearing en-banc, which is to have the entire 16-judge bench hear the case. Now, why did the Kowalski team choose the rehearing en-banc instead of the Florida Supreme Court? And what is their argument for rehearing en-banc? So I don't have the motion, but I can theorize on what their strategy might be. If you file for a rehearing en-banc, and the court can do one of 2 things. They can either deny the request outright, which means we're saying, no, this case is not going to get heard by the full 16 judges, or they can grant the request, go to the merits, and then all 16 judges can then sign off and say, we adhere to the initial decision. And this initial decision was correct. In that case, you can then go ahead and say, okay, well, since the 16-judge panel did not give me what I want, now I'm going to go to the Florida Supreme Court. So you have 2 bites at the apple. You have 16 judges. They can either give you what you want or not give you what you want. Or next, if that doesn't work, the Florida Supreme Court might step in and give you what you want. Whereas if you go straight to the Florida Supreme Court, you do not have the opportunity then to maybe have 16 judges give you what you want. So it's another bite of the apple. And it also shows Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, also known as JAHC, that the Kowalskis are serious about this. And it's a case that has generated a lot of publicity, and it shows that they're serious and they're going to continue to fight. And what that can also do is help spur settlement talks, where maybe the Kowalskis are not going to get $200 million, but possibly they'll get something more than they would have gotten if the appellate court's original decision stood, but something less than the $200 million. So those are the potential strategies of what the Kowalski's legal team might be thinking. But let's go to the merits. What could be the reasons that they can argue to the court to accept this petition for rehearing en-banc? So, not every case is automatically entitled to be heard en-banc. You have to meet a specific standard. And what is that standard? Well, let's go through the Florida Rules of Appellate Procedure and we will take a look. So, right here, we have Rule 35, en-banc determination, the Florida Rules of Appellate Procedure. So, subsection B is what's most relevant. That deals with petition for rehearing en-banc, which is what was filed here. And the petition must begin with a statement that either the panel decision conflicts with a decision of the United States Supreme Court or of the court to which the petition is addressed. So that would be the District Court of Appeal of Florida for the Second District or the United States Supreme Court. Now, without seeing the motion, I can't say whether or not they're saying that it conflicts with the United States Supreme Court cases or other decisions by the Florida District Court of Appeals for the Second District. But what I think is more likely is they're moving under subsection B. The proceeding involves one or more questions of exceptional importance. So, petition for rehearing en-banc, it must be either the panel decision conflicts with the Supreme Court or the Florida Appellate Court, or it involves one or more questions of exceptional importance. Now, what you ask is considered exceptional importance. Well, it's not defined, but I did find a very nice article which discusses a little bit more depth of what that means, exceptional importance. Now, let's take a look at this article. This is the Florida Bar Journal. What makes a case or an issue one of exceptional importance? And by the way, this is something that's done all the time. The rule will say something, but does not define what it means. So you need to go deeper to see how do people interpret this. And that's a lot of what lawyers do. And I think the heart of it is right here. There is broad agreement that a case qualifies as one of exceptional importance when the decision has the potential to affect a substantial number of people or when it has substantial significance for the growth and development of the law. And I think that's where they're going here. So, exceptional importance means it has the potential to affect a substantial number of people. And I think that is exactly the angle they're taking. How far does immunity go? The appellate court seemed to grant JAHC a broad grant of immunity, even when you have a situation where somebody working for the hospital, Miss Beatty, says to Maya Kowalski, it's all in your head and you're making up this disease. Or Miss Beatty says, I can be your mother. Or when Miss Beatty says to Maya's father, why don't you divorce your wife? Or when a nurse says to Maya Kowalski, I know you're faking it. Or when the hospital says to Maya Kowalski, you're not permitted to receive communion. Or you have the hospital interfering and not permitting Maya to speak with her mom in her native language of Polish. And these were all facts that came out at trial. And the appellate court seemed to say, well, it's protected under immunity because the hospital was acting in good faith when they made the report of suspected child abuse. And therefore, everything that flows is immune and they're protected under the law. And it seems that if that were to hold up, it can cause a massive ripple effect where hospitals would be protected almost no matter what. So is it a situation that can come up again? Well, will it be the exact same facts? No cases are exactly the same. But you can certainly see similar types of things happening where a hospital does things that push the bounds of normalcy. And causes damage, whether emotional, physical, psychological, to the patient and to the family. And it's going to happen again. So, appellate court, 16 judges. This is very important. If you don't take a look at this and review this and interpret the broad brush of immunity that was given by the Florida appellate court 3-judge panel, this is going to come up again and again and again. That's my thought. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, if anybody has access to the full filing, I'd love to see it. We'd love to break it down. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We'll see everybody next time.